Hey guys, so in a few days I'm heading off to Africa on a year-long bike tour, and I thought this would be a great time to shoot a video talking about the bike and the gear that I'm taking with me. There'll be links in the description below to all the gear and things if you're interested. So if I rush through anything, don't worry, there's links to it all below. So this is it. This is the setup that I'm taking to Africa. It's a Priority 600X bicycle. And the reason I chose this bike is because I wanted something that was reliable. I wanted something that wasn't going to break down in the middle of nowhere, and I wanted something that was easy to maintain. And the main reason that I chose this bicycle is because it has a pinion gearbox, which is a fully enclosed gearbox that's waterproof, dustproof, and doesn't require any maintenance except for every 10,000 miles you need to change the oil. So that just saves a lot of trouble for me because I don't know a lot about bikes. I'm not a very good bike mechanic, so that pairs well with the carbon belt drive here. So instead of a chain and cassette, it's got a carbon belt drive, and this again is just maintenance free. They do apparently snap every so often, but I've got a spare one with me, so no need to worry about that. You don't need to worry about greasing the chain. You can just wash it off with water. I've got a bit of silicone lubricant in case it starts squeaking, but they're the two main reasons that I chose this bicycle. But there's so much more to this bike than just that. It also has the Ren suspension inverted fork here, and for most people on a long tour, suspension fork is not a great option, but this is a great fork because it can be serviced and maintained with normal household tools. So most forks are annoying on longer tours just because they need to be serviced, and it's really hard to do sometimes when you're in remote places, but this one can be serviced and with household tools, and it can be locked out as well. So if I'm ever on flat roads, or I'm just doing a long slog on easy roads, I can just use the lockout here under here, and it locks it out and it's completely stiff. So they're the beautiful things about this bike, and now would be a good time to start talking about some of the gear that I'm taking with me. So before I start unloading the bags on my bike and showing you all the gear that I've got, I'll talk about what's mounted to the bike. So this is a 4-litre crank tank water storage, and it's a great spot for it because it means you can have 4 litres of water in the frame of your bike. And it has a little hose that goes all the way up to the top, and I can just drink through there when I'm riding. And I've put these little lines here to indicate, so once it's full you can actually see the water level and I can monitor how much water I've got left. Below that I have a fuel bottle from MSR which can hold petrol. I have 2 more at the back, 2 smaller ones on either side of the rear wheel, and I've chosen them and my multi-fuel stove. It's an MSR Dragonfly, just because petrol is going to be a bit more readily available. So the Priority 600X comes with 29-inch wheels, and they run on the WTB Com Tough I-35 rims. And then I've added the Vittoria Mezcal 29 by 2.6 inch tires, and these are a tire that many long-term tourers and bike packers recommend, just because it gives a good balance between off-road capability and durability on road. And I think I'm going to be pretty happy with these tires, but I'll let you know how they go. Our rear rack is the Old Man Mountain fat divide rack, and I had this rack on my fat bike and I've added it to this bike, and it's really one of the most sturdy racks out there. Front fork I have on one side using hose clamps mounted a Blackburn Outpost cage, and I've strapped on my sandals, and on the other side I've strapped on a 1.5 litre water bottle, which is good for keeping water cool. And I can also, if I need to take extra food, put rice or pasta in here and store it that way. So the bicycle seat I have is the Infinity E1X saddle, and I was really hesitant to spend money on this saddle because it was quite expensive, but I decided to do it because I'm spending so much time sitting down in my bike seat that the one thing I should spend money on is an expensive bike seat that's going to be comfortable, and this one is really comfortable. I don't have to wear padded shorts, and it was well worth the investment. On the front, I have the Surly Moloko handlebars, and the reason I chose these because I like a bit of a back sweep, and I also like the fact that you can have multiple hand positions when you're riding, so that for the longer days you can change your hand positions, and you're also able to mount heaps of gear and mounts to your handlebars while still having multiple hand positions. So the Priority 600X also comes with a kickstand, which I've actually found really useful. So rather than lying the bike on the ground or trying to find something for it to lean against, the kickstand is perfect for keeping it upright, and I ended up using it multiple times per day. So the reason that I've set up the bike the way that I have with a 35 litre Cedar Summit waterproof backpack on the back rear rack, and the reason I've strapped that on there is because when it does get rough, I can take the backpack off and wear it as a backpack, and then there's less pressure on the rear rack and less chance of something breaking. To the top of it, I have strapped right now a hip pack from Evoc. It's the Hip Pack Pro 3. I probably won't wear this that much, but I have it just in case, once again, it gets really rough and I want to put my camera in there rather than have it bump around on the bike. In front of that, I have just a small lock, and this is definitely important for me just to feel comfortable when I'm leaving my bike somewhere. So just on top of the backpack at the moment is a 28 watt solar panel from Goal Zero, and I just keep that there so that if I need to stop throughout the day, stopping for lunch, I can quickly charge my batteries. So on the right side of the rear rack, I have a small foldable chair from Mountain Designs, and yeah, I definitely don't need to take this, but it's a luxury, and when you're on a year-long tour, you want to be comfortable, and this is something that after a hard day of riding, I like to sit down in the chair and just relax, and they're pretty comfortable. And on the other side of the rear rack, I have a first aid kit mounted there in red. This is just in case I crash the bike and I'm passed out. This gives quick access to anyone, or even myself, if there's an emergency and I need quick access to first aid. So this is the backpack that's strapped to the rear rack. It's a 35 litre Cedar Summit hydraulic dry bag, and at the back it's got these harness, and yeah, that's just easy to wear when, like I said, it gets rough and I don't want to have so much stress on the rear rack. And in here I have basically the things I don't need during the day, so mainly my sleep system, my clothes, and some electronics. So I'll go through it now. So I've got a jumper for the night time. In this dry bag here, I've got electronic cables and chargers and things like that. So yeah, I've got charging cables, SSD card, and then on the other side I've got more chargers, SD cards, hard drives, and a mouse for editing videos, and then some GoPro accessories and things like that in there. I also keep my inflatable pillow here. It's just a cheap one. I have a scrubber wash bag, so anytime I've got dirty clothes, I chuck them in here, give them a bit of a wash, and then I can dry them as I'm riding the next day. I have a Cedar Summit ultralight insulated air mat, which is great. Pair of pants. My laptop is in this scrubber air sleeve, and this is great because you can blow air into it like that, and then it just keeps the laptop from bumping around too much. It's bumping in the air rather than bumping on the rack. Pair of socks. In this bag I have my tent, which is an MSR hubba with a green fly, just so I can stay a bit more stealthy. In here, just a pair of shorts. I've got a beanie, towel, and my sleeping bag, which is just a 0 degree Celsius sleeping bag from Decathlon. I just put it in this dry bag just to keep it dry, just in case, because that's the one thing you do definitely want dry, just in case there's a failure in the 35 litre bag. And last but not least, I've just got some few more clothes, just some thermals, another spare pair of underwear, and just clothes that I'll need at night. So that's everything that's in the backpack on the back. So next, this is the frame bag, and it's an Ortlieb roll top frame bag. It's 4 litres big, and in here I've got all my spare parts and tools. So I'll open this up and show you what's inside. I've taken heaps of tools for this trip, just because, heaps of tools and heaps of spares, just because I don't want to get stuck somewhere and not have a spare part and have to wait around for too long. So in here I've got a couple microfiber cloths, and I have links to everything in the description in case I skim over something. This is the pump for the front suspension fork for the Ren. Some spare brake and shift cables, lock ring tool for the pinion gearbox, an MSR Expedition Dragonfly repair kit, a Leatherman just with some pliers, a screwdriver mainly to get the hose clamps off at the front, fork if I need to, some nylon thread for my sewing kit to repair a sidewall on the bicycle, some patches for my Cedar Summit air mat, adjustable spanner. I have a spare belt in here for my carbon belt drive, some touch-up paint for the bicycle, sewing kit, and this has a curved needle and spare buckle and things like that. The curved needle is just for repairing a sidewall of the tires if I need to. I have a permanent marker just to mark a hole if I have one, and then I've just got some tape, some Tyvek tape, which is just waterproof tape. It's really strong tape, and then some sports tape as well if I need it. I have spare brake pads in these two. I've got quite a few spares just because I don't want to have to go searching for them when I'm over in Africa. I have a spare tube just in case there's a failure for my tubeless setup. In here I have spare spokes and cable ties and rubber bands. In this little case I have a lot of spare bolts, nuts and bolts, for things like my rack, water bottle cages, and pinion gearbox bolts in case any break. I just keep that in there. I've got heaps in there. And I have a spare seat clamp in case my one breaks. And then in this little Cedar Summit 4-litre dry bag, I have all of my liquids, so a couple spare sealants, my silicone lubricant for the belt drive, some bike grease, and some gearbox oil for the pinion gearbox when I need to do an oil change after 10,000 kilometers. And that's everything. The other tools and spare parts that I have are in this rear saddlebag here, and this is just all my tubeless and tire repair kit things in here. So I have spare tubeless valves, some super glue, some grease, and a tubeless repair kit, and some tire levers, some alcohol swabs to clean the tire, some tire boots from Park Tool, and some spare bacon strips to repair tubeless. So next I'll just talk about what's in this front bag. It's a Roadrunner Jumbo Jammer bag. It's 26 litres, absolutely massive, and you can fit heaps of stuff in here. So normally I like to keep my food, my cook set, and things I need to access throughout the day in here. So on the top I've got a Joby Gorilla Pod mounted, and a selfie stick for the GoPro, and they're just quick access items that I'll need throughout the day. If you undo these straps, and these straps are massive, so I can always add extra things like a rain jacket if I need to, any wet clothes. Inside it's a roll top closure, and I have all my spare batteries for all my cameras, and an extra hard drive. So this is a backup hard drive. I've got spare GoPro batteries, spare Sony batteries, and spare drone batteries. And that's just a good place to keep them, because throughout the day that means I'll have access to them pretty easily if I run out of batteries. Other than that, I have a long sleeve top that I normally wear in the mornings, just to protect me from the wind and from the sun as well. That's just a good quick access item that I access throughout the day. Then I have this baseball cap, which fits under my helmet, and the thing I like about this is it has a it's a Legionnaire's hat as well, so it protects you from your neck if it's really sunny, and you can put that under the helmet and then you're protected from the sun completely. And in Africa, I think this is a must. Then I have food in this bag. This is just some example food that I'll be taking. So this is, right now, this is about 8 days worth of food. I've got all these different dinners. I've got, dinners, porridge, soups, coffees, some mashed potatoes, more oats, and this is about a week's worth of food right here. More dinners, more coffee, more oats. They're just some examples of how much I can fit into the bag with everything else. Then I have my MSR Dragonfly cooker. Like I said, this is a multi-fuel stove. I'll mainly be running it off petrol, and that just goes in the front with all my cooking stuff. Then I have my cook set, which is quite large. I wanted a large pot because I wanted to cook big meals after riding all day. So it's just got a lid, a frying pan, then I think it's a 2.5 litre pot. Inside that I keep this coffee cup, and I like this coffee cup because it's got this plunger thing, so I can put ground up coffee beans in there and then plunge it in the morning rather than having freeze dried coffee. Then I've got the wind barriers for the stove, instruction manual at the moment, just a spatula, lighter, and then some knife, fork and spoon in there, and then just a little scourer as well. So that's everything from the cook pot. Then I have my toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, and any other things that I might add to that. What's next? I have a Kindle just for reading books and getting ideas for things to do in the areas that I'll be cycling through. And I have this collapsible container, which is great because if I see some food during the day, I can get extras, put it in the container that I don't have to cook, or if I have leftovers from the night before, I can put it in the container and then just eat it the next day. And it doesn't take up that much room, so that's a pretty good one. That was just a cheap one from Kmart. I have this floor pump. It's a Lesign mini floor pump, I think it's called. I'll have a link to that in the description. This is just really good. I can set up my tubeless tires with this, and I can set the bead. I did that when I was setting up these tires the other day. Then I have the power bank. This is the Goal Zero Sherpa 100 AC, so I can plug in a regular socket here if I need to for any reason, but this hooks up to the solar panel that I was showing you before. And finally, in the main pocket, I have a Gore-Tex rain jacket from Kathmandu, and this is just quick access in the front so that if it starts raining I can use it. Then in front of that there's two smaller pockets for just more quick access items. I have an emergency bivvy, a foldable backpack, a fly net, a buff, a trowel and some toilet paper. And in the other side I have some bike lights and a little case for a waterproof case for my phone if I need to be using it while it's raining, and some just gloves for riding if it's cold in the mornings. And that's everything from the jumbo jammer. So just behind the jumbo jammer I keep my tent poles and stakes in that bag, and then I also have this MSR gravity water filter purifier. It's pretty much the best filter purifier on the market, and I spent a lot of money on this, and it's a gravity fed filter, but I thought in Africa where there's lots of diseases, this is probably a good item to spend money on. So now we're getting more into the cockpit area. So these items I can grab while I'm riding. Firstly, I have the GoPro Hero 11 Black with the media mod. on this Jaws clamp with a gooseneck, and this is just because I can put it there, easy access. I can attach it to different parts of the bike if I need to use it while riding, and it comes off really easily from the clamp, and then I can clamp it onto a selfie stick or a tripod. So really easy access there for the GoPro. I have the quad lock mount for my phone here. Once again, just so I can use it while I'm riding. Then I have these two feed bags. In one of them I've got a rain cover just to put over these camera bags, and in the other one I've just got a water bottle that has a straw that I can drink out of while riding, so that's really easy. And then I just have this smaller bag in front, and that just has another pair of gloves, a head torch, a small multi-tool, and another power bank in there, so I can charge my phone while I'm riding. In this bag I have another smaller, different multi-tool, my headphones, and my digital pressure gauge for my tires, so that I can get the tire pressures right for in the mornings when I'm riding. And then I have, finally, the last things on the bike are two of my favorite bags, and these are the Merit popcorn bags, and I've attached them down here because they take up less space on the handlebars and they don't interfere with my legs, which is good. So in one side I have my camera and microphone. This is the Sony RX100 7. With the small rig cage I have a Rode Video Micro and an adaptable, on the front here I have an adaptable ND filter, so if it's sunny I can just turn that around and get some good quality images with that. And that's just, once again, just a quick access item down the popcorn bag. Just quickly put that in there. I can access that while I'm riding. In the other side, if we come around, this is where I keep my drone and controller. This is the DJI Mini 3 Pro, and it has the RC controller, so that's the controller there. And then this is just the drone here, so it's not too big. It gets some pretty good quality images, and it can just store right there for easy access. So on the back of the DJI RC controller, I've mounted this quad lock mount adapter, so I can then mount that to my phone mount on the handlebars. So that just means when I'm riding, I can see what images I'm getting if I'm doing the drone following me or anything like that. Alright guys, so I think that's pretty much everything. There'll be links to everything in the description. I've created a full gear list page on my website with links to everything, so if you want more detail about any of the items, just head over there. And I can't wait to see you guys in Africa.